Welcome back to Vitality After 60. Remember, strength doesn't fade with age, it evolves. The data I'm about to share represents a paradigm shift in cancer prevention, one that finally puts the power of healing back into your hands. I want to start today's video with an image that might completely change the way you think about this disease. Imagine a cluster of colon cancer cells. If it is completely isolated, with no blood supply to nourish it, it stays as small as the tip of a ballpoint pen, about 2 millimeters. At that size, it is entirely harmless. But here is the staggering part, and also the most crucial data I want to share. Simply by providing the wrong fuel, specifically by allowing blood vessels to invade, that tumor can explode to 16,000 times its original size in just 14 days. It literally explodes in scale. I know that at 60, most of us men feel devastated when we hear a diagnosis of stage 4 cancer. It feels like an unalterable death sentence. But as someone who closely follows the latest medical data, I am here to bring you a different perspective, a perspective full of grounded, realistic hope. Modern science, especially research from Harvard Medical School and prestigious journals like Science, has proven something revolutionary. Stage 4 is not the end. It can absolutely be reversed to stage 0. Let's start with a reality check that should concern every man over 60. According to the American Cancer Society, colorectal cancer remains the second leading cause of cancer deaths in the United States. While you may have heard headlines about it rising in young adults, the truth is that the risk peaks for us in our 60s and 70s. The average age at diagnosis for men today is 66. But here is where most people get it wrong. When we receive a diagnosis, or even when we just think about cancer, we often blame bad luck or bad genes. We assume that if our father or grandfather had it, our fate is sealed. But the data tells a completely different story. Research from Harvard Health and the MD Anderson Cancer Center confirms that only about 5 to 10% of all cancers are driven by inherited genetic mutations. That means a staggering 90 to 95% of your cancer risk is determined by your environment, your lifestyle, and, most importantly, what is on your plate. Think about that for a second. This is the paradigm shift I mentioned. If 90% is environmental, it means 90% is within your influence. Your DNA is not your destiny. It is simply a blueprint. You are the one holding the pen. So what has changed in the last few decades to cause these rates to skyrocket? The World Health Organization, the WHO, has officially classified processed meats like bacon, sausages, and deli meats as Group 1 carcinogens. To put that in perspective, that's the exact same category as cigarettes and asbestos. The data shows that consuming just 50 grams of processed meat daily, that's about 2 slices of ham, increases your risk of colon cancer by 18%. Why? Because these foods create a storm of chronic inflammation in your gut. Over decades, this inflammation damages your cells until they begin to mutate. But as we're about to see, inflammation is only the spark. For that spark to turn into a life-threatening fire, it needs a constant supply of fuel. And that brings us to the most critical discovery in modern oncology, the supply line. To understand how a tumor goes from harmless to life-threatening, we need to look at its supply chain. In the world of biology, this is called angiogenesis, the growth of new blood vessels. Now, don't let the technical name intimidate you. Think of it like this. Your body is a masterpiece of balance. It grows just enough blood vessels to heal a wound, but not so many that they cause trouble. It's like a perfectly manicured lawn. But cancer is a master hijacker. Remember the 2 millimeter limit I mentioned earlier, the size of a ballpoint pen tip? Research from Harvard Medical School, pioneered by the late Dr. Judah Folkman, discovered that a tumor cannot grow beyond this tiny size because it lacks oxygen and nutrients. At this stage, it's just a microscopic cluster, essentially cancer without a job. But then the explosion happens. The tumor begins to release fertilizer, specific proteins that trick your body into building a private highway of blood vessels directly into the cancer. The moment those vessels connect, everything changes. Studies published in the journal Nature show that once a tumor establishes this blood supply, it can grow 16,000 times larger in just 14 days. That is the difference between a microscopic dot and a life-threatening mass. This is why for us over 60, the goal isn't just to kill cancer cells, it's to starve the system. Imagine if you could cut the fuel lines before the fire spreads. This is where the magic happens. Scientists have found that certain foods contain natural anti-angiogenic compounds. These are molecules that act like biological mowers, trimming back those abnormal blood vessels and preventing the tumor from ever getting its supply line. In fact, some of these foods are so powerful that when tested in a lab, they performed as well as or even better than multi-billion-dollar cancer drugs. But before I show you which foods can do this, we need to talk about the elite special forces already inside you and why they might be sleeping on the job. Now, even if a tumor manages to establish a supply line, your body has one final elite line of defense, your immune system. Think of it as a highly trained police force led by T cells, constantly patrolling your body to find and destroy abnormal cells. But cancer is a master of deception. It develops what scientists call an invisibility cloak. It produces specific proteins on its surface called checkpoints that send a false signal to your immune cells saying, "I'm one of the good guys, don't attack me." This is how stage 4 cancer spreads. It's not that your immune system is weak, it's that it's being lied to. But here is the breakthrough that is redefining survival after 60. In the last decade, a new class of medicine called immunotherapy has changed everything. These aren't toxins like chemotherapy. Instead, they are unmasking agents. Drugs like pembrolizumab, you might know it as Keytruda, act like a key that unlocks your immune system, stripping away the cancer's invisibility cloak so your T cells can finally see the enemy and finish the job. The results? They are nothing short of miraculous. Data published in the New England Journal of Medicine shows that for a specific group of patients, immunotherapy can literally turn stage 4 into stage 0, complete remission, no more cancer detected. But there is a secret code you need to know about, the MSI status. If you or a loved one is facing this battle, there is one question you must ask your medical team. Is the tumor MSI-High? MSI-H, microsatellite instability high, is like a wanted poster for the immune system. Tumors with this marker have thousands of mutations, making them incredibly easy for your immune system to recognize once the mask is removed. About 15% of colon cancer patients have this marker, and for them, immunotherapy is a game changer. But even if you don't have that specific marker, there is a way to prime your immune system from the inside out. And that brings us to the most exciting discovery of all, the commander-in-chief of your health, your gut bacteria. We've talked about starving the tumor and unmasking the enemy, but there is one final piece of the puzzle. If your T cells are the soldiers, they need a commander-in-chief to tell them when and how to fight. That commander lives in your gut. For years, we thought gut bacteria were just for digestion, but a groundbreaking study published in the journal Science in 2018 changed everything. Researchers analyzed cancer patients receiving the exact immunotherapy we just discussed. They found a shocking pattern. The patients who had a miracle recovery, where tumors simply vanished, all had high levels of one specific bacteria, Akkermansia muciniphila. The patients who didn't respond to treatment, they were missing this bacteria. Think about that. The success of a multi-billion-dollar medical treatment was determined by a microscopic organism living in the lining of their gut. Akkermansia is a guardian bacteria. It strengthens your gut barrier, and most importantly, it primes your immune system, making your T cells much more aggressive toward cancer cells. But here is the challenge for us over 60. Decades of processed foods, chronic stress, and especially the use of antibiotics can wipe out your Akkermansia populations. If this commander is missing, your immune system is effectively blind. The good news? You can rebuild this elite force in as little as 3 to 4 weeks. You don't need a prescription for this. You need the right prebiotic fuel. Akkermansia thrives on compounds called elagitannins. Data from the University of California, UCLA, shows that consuming specific foods like pomegranates, walnuts, and raspberries can increase your Akkermansia levels by up to 600% or 6 times in just 21 days. By feeding the commander, you are effectively upgrading your body's internal software to fight cancer. But which exact foods should you reach for, and in what quantities? That is what we're covering in the final, most important part of this video, the Vitality Protocol. We have discussed the science, the invisibility cloaks, and the gut commanders. Now, let's talk about the exact tools you can use starting with your very next meal. Based on clinical data from institutions like MD Anderson and Harvard, here is your Vitality Protocol to reduce colon cancer risk by over 40%. 1. The fiber rule, your internal sweeper. Data shows that for every 5 grams of fiber you add to your daily diet, that's just one large pear, your risk of dying from colon cancer drops by nearly 30%. For men over 60, the goal is 30 to 38 grams a day. Your secret weapon? Beans and lentils. Just 1 cup of black beans provides 15 grams of fiber. It's the most powerful, low-cost tool in your arsenal to sweep toxins out of your colon before they can cause damage. 2. The green tea protocol, cutting the supply. Harvard researchers found that men who drink at least 3 cups of green tea daily have a 27% lower risk of colorectal cancer. Why? Because green tea is packed with EGCG, a compound that acts like a pair of molecular scissors, cutting the blood vessels that feed tumors. Pro tip, let your tea steep for 5 to 8 minutes to release the maximum amount of EGCG. 3. The sulforaphane bomb, broccoli sprouts. Studies from Johns Hopkins University show that broccoli sprouts, just 3 to 4 days old, contain up to 100 times more sulforaphane than a full-grown head of broccoli. Sulforaphane is a master switcher that turns on your body's natural detoxification genes. A small handful a day is like sending a specialized cleaning crew into your digestive tract. 4. The Akkermansia fuel, pomegranates and walnuts. As we discussed with the UCLA study, we need to feed the commander. Aim for 8 ounces of pure pomegranate juice or 1 cup of fresh seeds daily. Pair this with a handful of walnuts, which provide the healthy fats and fiber that help these good bacteria thrive. 5. The lycopene synergy, cooked tomatoes plus olive oil. Lycopene is a world-class anti-angiogenic compound, but here's the secret: your body can't absorb it well from raw tomatoes. Research from Harvard T.H. Sand School of Public Health shows that cooking tomatoes with extra virgin olive oil increases lycopene absorption by several hundred%. The oil helps carry the lycopene into your bloodstream to find and block those tumor supply lines. Remember, consistency beats intensity. You don't need to do all of this perfectly on day 1. Start with one habit, master it, and then add the next. Your biology responds to what you do every day, not what you do once in a while. Knowledge is only power if it is applied with discipline. To truly protect your colon after 60, there are 2 non-negotiable rules that go beyond what is on your plate. 1. The 3-hour rule, nightly maintenance. Why is when you eat just as important as what you eat? Your body has a built-in internal maintenance schedule governed by your circadian rhythm. Research from the Salk Institute shows that when you stop eating at least 3 hours before bed, you trigger a process called autophagy. Think of it as a nightly cellular cleanup crew. When your system isn't busy digesting a heavy steak or a late-night snack, it can redirect all its energy toward immune surveillance, finding and destroying those zombie cells or early mutations before they can form a tumor. If you eat right before sleep, you are effectively forcing your cleanup crew to work in the kitchen instead of patrolling the perimeter. 2. The gold standard, colonoscopy. I know nobody looks forward to a colonoscopy, but here's the reality. Colorectal cancer is one of the most preventable cancers because it almost always starts as a small growth called a polyp. It takes about 10 to 15 years for a polyp to transform into cancer. If you are in your 60s, you are in the critical window to catch these pre-cancerous hitchhikers. Data published in the New England Journal of Medicine confirms that regular colonoscopies can reduce the risk of dying from colorectal cancer by over 60 to 70%. Think of a colonoscopy not as a medical procedure, but as an internal audit. It's the only way to be 100% sure that your vitality protocol is working on the inside. If you haven't had one in the last 5 to 10 years, make that call today. It is the single most important appointment you will ever keep. We have walked through the battlefield of modern oncology today, from starving the enemy's supply lines to unmasking the invaders with the power of immunotherapy. We have met the gut commander, Akkermansia, and built a vitality protocol designed for one purpose: to put the power of healing back into your hands. If there is one thing I want you to take away from this, it is this: your DNA is not your destiny. As a man over 60, you are at a crossroads. You can choose to be a passive observer of your aging, or you can choose to be the active architect of your biology. The data from Harvard, UCLA, and Science isn't just a collection of numbers, it's a roadmap to freedom. Longevity is not just about adding years to your life, it's about adding life to your years. It's about having the strength to play with your grandkids, the energy to pursue your passions, and the independence to live on your own terms. Here is your mission for today. Choose just one element from the Vitality Protocol. Maybe it's swapping your afternoon snack for a handful of walnuts, or committing to that 3-hour window before bed. Start small, but start today. If you found value in this deep dive, subscribe to Vitality After 60 and share this video with a brother, a friend, or a teammate who needs to hear this message. Information is the first step, but community is what keeps us on the path. Stay strong, stay informed, and I will see you on the path. Strength doesn't fade with age, it evolves.